And later today, Columbia Public Schools is expected to announce changes to its alternative learning. Right now, we're joined live by Superintendent Peter Stiepleman. And Dr. Stiepleman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. So I know a lot of questions burning on the minds of parents and students all across CPS. Has CPS made a decision on how to move forward with those alternate learning plans after that pause was announced on Wednesday?
Yeah, thanks for the question. The 2 weeks right after spring break, we were hoping we'd be back in school. So that was going to be April 13th. And so what we did was we just asked teachers to convert what they were doing in their classes for those 2 weeks after spring break, and then we would be back and be able to go. And what we were learning, certainly from the stay-at-home order here locally in Columbia, and then now by the governor, is that it may be some time before we're back. And so to ask teachers just to convert their classes and then just make that into this alternate model at home was really overwhelming for teachers. For children, we were routinely hearing from children and their families saying that they were just being almost bombarded with emails with the best of intentions, everybody trying to keep things going, and it became incredibly overwhelming. So we hit pause last week. We met with teachers on Friday, and we worked through and crafted what our plan will be moving forward. So parents are going to hear that this morning a little bit, just talking about just trying to do reasonable things like on Monday, for example, you may hear from your math teacher. On Tuesday, you hear from your language arts teacher, so that we can sort of compartmentalize and just divide this up into reasonable chunks.
Okay, so the idea I understand is just to make sure that the students aren't getting 12 emails a day from all of their teachers, and instead just maybe giving out different days for different teachers so that students can kind of organize it better. Is that correct?
Exactly. So really what we were asking teachers to do is what they do. They were teaching. And what we hadn't considered, because we have never turned everything over into this alternative model before like this, was that was incredibly overwhelming. And so assignments were being assigned, assessments were being administered, late work was you were getting an email the next day that says your work was turned in late or has not yet arrived. And imagine, because we have not even hit the peak of this pandemic, that what that's going to look like in a couple of months when we do hit that peak. And so families who are frontline workers, who are working in hospitals or working in the community, who are doing this incredible work through Office of Emergency Management and things like that, like they don't necessarily, it's not they don't have the time. Well, they don't. I mean, they have, their time is being pulled into many different directions in terms of serving the community, serving their families, and then taking care of themselves. And so we just had to do something that made more sense.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you are able to, I guess, announce this yet, but is there going to be changes to assignments, or how will that look for students?
Yeah, so we'll send out an FAQ this morning. Just in a couple hours here, we're going to give one more look as a team. And then, so I'd hate to say something that may change within the next hour. So, but I would imagine that you'll be first to know in about an hour or so.
That sounds good. We'll check back in with you in just a few minutes. Again, Thank you so much for joining us this morning and taking
My pleasure.
And in just the last half hour, we learned from Columbia Public Schools Superintendent Peter Stiepleman that the district plans to announce changes to its alternative learning plan. Now, he told us the change will help students organize their classes based on the day of the week. And right now, we're joined live by Superintendent Peter Stiepleman. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know it's definitely a busy time.
Hey, good morning. Thank you.
And so I just wanted to jump back into, you already said that the changes will be announced later on today. So how is the district going to make sure students aren't falling behind in this time?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Falling behind is quite a thought, because there's so many things that we take care of in terms of how we support children. So for example, the fact that 1 in every 2 children in our school district relies on the schools for their meals. And so this, right now we have 80 bus stops delivering meals to children. I want to thank our Director of Nutrition Services, Lena Fulham, our homeschool communicators who are making sure that food is getting delivered to kids, as well as the Director of Transportation, Blake T. Cody. Then we want to make sure that kids have access, reliable access to the internet. We've learned that that's actually not something that is true. So we have 800 hotspots out in the community right now for those families who needed to be able to reliably get onto our system so they could do their work. So all these different ways of supporting kids.
And you're also, if I remember correctly, allowing people to come into CPS buildings, parking lots, and get internet there.
Not into the buildings. Our buildings are closed. Closed means closed, right? We're deep cleaning all of our buildings. Our custodial teams are doing an amazing job of deep cleaning every classroom. They have a checklist. They check it off everything. They have to be signed by somebody else that supervises it, and then they put that sign on the side of on the door so that you know exactly what was cleaned in that classroom. So when children do get to return, they'll know that their classrooms were very clean. So yeah, they can use our parking lots until 10 p.m. for reliable Wi-Fi. And for your viewers who may be saying, is that really the responsibility of the schools to buy hotspots and things like that? We're keeping track of all of our invoices. We know that FEMA and SEMA have indicated that they will reimburse districts for these types of expenses. That's a big part of declaring a state of emergency in a state or in a nation. And so we'll be looking to get reimbursed.
And so I know it's kind of far away, maybe not a lot of people like to think about it, but are you expecting this closure to last through the end of the school year?
Yeah, so we were hoping we'd be back on the 13th, and then we were told that it's now going to be the 27th. I don't think any of us will be surprised if, in fact, in the end, as a state, it is determined that we're unable to return back to school. But we keep working, hoping with the fact that we would be able to get back. But we're realists, we're pragmatists, right? So we're planning with this idea, everything that the parents are going to hear from today, parents and guardians are going to hear today, is really with this thought of what would happen if we're not back. And so this will be working backwards from that idea. And so that includes things like proms or graduations, these rites of passages, these rituals that children rely on as part of their experience. Ever since they enter in kindergarten or even preschool, they have this idea, because we tell them you're going to graduate and you're going to walk across that stage, and then that's just the beginning of all your future endeavors. And then they thought that might not happen. Mizzou, they canceled their ceremonies. And so I would imagine that is going to play a role in the decisions we make. I know that principals are going to be getting together with our assistant